What's up, YouTube fam? In the last video I gave you guys the 7-minute quick options course. This one is going to be a little bit longer. We're going to do a little bit of an A to Z selling options course so that you understand it, can learn it, and do, overall better and make more money, consistent money with selling options. So let's look, at my last month's stats, right? We did 18%. And we started this account at 20,000 a little over a month ago on November 6th, I believe was the day. So yeah, if you want to learn exactly how, I'm going to show it all in this video and get to it. So basically, what is an option contract, right? So an option contract is essentially, it's the best kind of contract, right? Why? Because it doesn't require people, it doesn't require talking, it doesn't require negotiation. It doesn't require rereading, right? It's just a contract. And when you opt into an option selling contract, you are guaranteed to get paid that amount. And that's the beautiful thing about selling options, right? So for instance, if we wanted to pick, this strike for 94 is the price, right? What we're doing is we're putting up $9,400 as collateral, right? Where is it? Max loss 8,500. Right? Why is it 8,500? Because it's 94, but you're subtracting this, right? Because you're getting this no matter what. So essentially what it's trying to say is if this stock went to zero, right, all the way to zero, which is not going to happen, especially not in the next 6 days, but what it's saying is that you would have to buy this for 9,400, right? 100 shares of $94. So you would get $0, right, if the stock went to zero, but you would still get the 810. So the 810 is guaranteed, and that's why option selling is the best kind of contract, because you don't need to reread it. You don't need to hire lawyers. You sell an option, you are guaranteed to collect that premium. Now, what is the risk, right? The risk, as I just highlighted, is the fact that you have to be willing to buy it at $94, right, regardless of where it goes. So in this case, right, what we are doing is we are selling the 94. So you see how high up the 94 is, right? When you look at this chart, you see how much these candles can move, right? Like in this case, it moved from 61 all the way to 90, right? So it's like, this specific stock could easily move 30, 40 points. So that's why there's a risk, right? It's like you're guaranteed to get 810, but there's a chance that by the time you actually buy it, it's sitting at 70, right? Or let's say 74. So you bought 100 shares for 9,400. And now it's only worth 7,400. You're still getting the 810, so your portfolio would be at 8,100, right? So you'd still be down 1,300 on your portfolio. So that's where the too good to be true logic comes in. Now, what you could do, of course, is pick strikes that are further and safer. So in this case, you're giving yourself an extra $1,000, right? Because you don't have to buy at 94, you'd have to buy at 84. But in exchange, you're only collecting $470 in premium. So if we look at it on the chart, it is a good amount of leeway. And if the stock did, drop that much, it would be $1,000 that you'd be saving yourself. So that's the essence of selling an option. Now, if you wanted to sell calls, the difference is you would buy the shares first, right? So you would have to buy at the current price. So that's why I like selling puts, because you only sell puts. When you sell puts, you only buy at one of these lower prices, right? So if you ever do have to buy the shares, it's always going to be better than had you bought, the second that you opened the position. With calls, you have to buy the shares immediately. So the difference is you're collecting these premiums, and let's just say MSTX ends up at 115 on Friday. The downside is you would be selling here, right? So you'd be missing out on whatever it is, $900. Now you'd still be getting your $890, your $900, whatever. You're still getting the premium, right? So that's the beautiful part of an option selling contract, is the premium is 100% guaranteed as long as you hold all the way through. But it can go down or up a lot, which makes you question if it was a good position, right? So like in this case, if you sold 105 and it went all the way to 125, you would be losing. So that's the beautiful part, is you wouldn't be losing, right? Because you'd still be making $500 from 100 to 105, and then you'd be making $890. So you'd still be making $1,300. But if you just held from 100 to 125, right, you'd be up $2,500. So you'd be making half. Now, These are the things you will deal with as an option seller, right? As an option seller, you will come across these moments where it runs way past your strikes, and you have to be willing to accept that, right? Because we're here to make consistent profit and do it in the most sustainable way possible. If you want quick, fast gains, then this is not the strategy for you. So how do we do it in the most sustainable way? We do it by always selling puts first. This way, if the market does crash, right, and we sell, if we sell an 80 put and the market crashes to 75, we're still getting a great buy, right? Now we're only collecting 390, right? If you want to get crazy, you could try to sell one of these and collect more, but I wouldn't recommend it because the stock is so volatile, right? Now, if we go to a stock that's less volatile, right, like Google, there's two things you're going to notice, right? One is the premiums are just not going to pay nearly as well, right? So in this case, I mean, you literally can't even sell options, right? You can go a little further, but again, it's just, there's no world where it's worth it. You're going to do $16,000 to make $49. There's really no benefit in selling puts on a stock like Google, right? Because it's just not giving juicy enough premiums. You could always find something that is going to give better premiums, right? In this case, NVIDIA is not a lot cheaper than Google, but cheaper by $30 a share. So it would be $14,000 instead of $17,000. Again, the premiums are still better than Google, but without like earnings or big news, they're just not juicy enough, right? So listen, if you're playing with millions of dollars, then yeah, you could trade, you could sell options, but it does get to a certain point where if the premiums aren't even that much, almost what's the point, right? Like you're almost better off just, buying the stock and holding. Like in this case, right, you'd have to put up 130,000 in collateral to make 960. Like, no, thank you, right? So how do we decide which stocks we're selling options on? That's why we have the earnings calendar, right? So if you look at all the plays we've taken, we've been taking plays that have earnings. Why? Because earnings causes the premiums to be inflated, right? So when we go to Oracle, which is the play we have currently open, right? Similar price to Google and NVIDIA, right? It's in that $100 to $200 range. But look how much better these premiums are paying, right? You can actually make $400 off 18,000 with a high, a relatively decent delta, not too high, not too low. And, that's really the only Greek I fully pay attention to. Theta is on our team, right? When it comes to the option Greeks, right, not to get, off topic, but Theta is exactly why selling options is the best, put it like this, right? Theta is like Thanos, right? Every second that passes, Theta is making these options decay. So you having Thanos on your team is ultimately, it's like having the best teammate. It's like having the Avengers, right? Because every second that the stock, isn't trading below this, it's losing value, right? And that's kind of how the formula works. So when we pull up a chart like Oracle, which is the play we'll be in next week, the beautiful part is like, we have some leeway, right? And this is why we sell puts instead of buying calls, selling calls. Because if I want to sell calls, I have to buy right now. If I want to sell puts, I don't have to buy unless it expires below this. So every second that it's chopping around, Theta is making me money, right? If it shoots up, Theta is going to pretty much make the puts worthless. So we're going to be up a lot, right? If it shoots really far down, all the way down to here, then we would have to decide what we want to do, right? If we want to hold the stock, collect the premium and try to ride it back up, or close the position for a loss and move on. And then, of course, if it does something like this, right, where it just hovers around back and forth, what you would want to do is you would want to just exit the position on one of these, right? So you're not going to get the full 400, but you're going to make money and then ultimately get out, right? Because every second that you're wasting in this play, you could be spending in another play. And that's kind of the point of selling options, right? Is like, we sold this one at 400. Depending on where it opens up Monday, we'll almost guaranteed to be up, right? Because if it opens up, Theta is going to wipe out 50 cents at least, right? It could wipe out more. If it opens down, then we still know Theta is going to wipe out 50 cents. So it's a matter of if it opens down enough to offset that. And that's the thing about selling options. Every day that passes is in your favor, right? If you pull up an options chart, which I'm going to save for a future video, but as you see, I have the Thinkorswim tab open because we could look at actual option charts. You'll see they just go down over time. So every day that you're selling, it's almost like it's just going to keep going down, right? Like notice how it's cheaper closer to expiration, right? But if we go 27 days out, I guess this is a bad example because it has earnings, right? But let's pick like a stock that doesn't have earnings soon, right? So let's do Apple, which, let's see. Again, doesn't pay well at all, right? But if we go 34 days out, still not great, but it is paying more than the ones that are expiring right now. Let's go to a juicier stock, right? A stock that we've traded that has actual volatility. Now this stock, obviously it has crazy volatility, but that's why the premiums are paying. And if we go 27 days out, now you can see, it's double the price, triple the price. Why? Because every day that goes by, Theta is going to make this go down and down and down. And that's how every single option works for every stock. The only time that won't be the case is if you're like, buying calls or buying puts and it's just shooting one way or the other. But majority of the time, if you're playing, especially out of the money, right? And that's the thing, we're only selling out of the money. If you're buying deep in the money options, then yeah, it will hold value against Theta. But if you're buying out of the money options, you are going to be losing value every second, right? So that's why when you're selling out of the money options, you're pretty much making money every second, right? And that's the thing about it, right? Is it's not really much more to it. Like, you guys are looking for a secret sauce, a secret science. When we go and look at the history of these trades, right, and we can go all the way to the first trade on the account, you'll see that it's really just small gain after small gain, right? Like, I could try to teach you 50 different strategies. Here, we deposited $20,000, made $500, made $675, made $800. I don't really know, but here we made a couple bucks again. Here, let's see, 153. All right, here we go. Snow sold for 433, bought back for 2, so made 431. Sold for 360, bought for 536. So this is where we took a loss. I remember it was going against me. I should have stayed in. I would have made money, but I just took, I took the small loss. In this case, let's see. Bought Snow for 325. Oh, this was another loss. So bought calls. Sold Abercrombie and Fitch for 540. Bought back for 270. So profited 310. Sold Hood for 106. Bought back for 6. So profited 100. Sold MSTX for 1300. Bought back for 490. So you guys see what I'm saying? I can give you guys a million different strategies, a million different, secret sauces, but it really doesn't need to be that complicated. It's about the consistency and having the ability to be disciplined enough to do this week after week, day after day. Because listen, 20,000 to 24.2 in a month, it's very good if you're comparing yourself to Warren Buffett, right? But if you're comparing yourself to these crypto meme coin guys and all these other crazy traders, you're seeing obviously crazier numbers out there. But this is what I think ultimately will be the most consistent, will be the most profitable over the long run. And a lot of those guys who you see catching fast wins, they don't end up making a lot. A lot of them aren't actually ever going to end up being rich, right? It's the person who has a repeatable formula, a scalable formula, can come in, day out, make money in any condition, that will be rich, right? Like 4,000 on 2K, on 20K might not be a lot, but what happens when I scale this to 100K, 200K? What happens when I get someone to invest money? What happens when the account is bigger, and instead of it being 4K on 20K, it's 40K on 200, right? Or 400K on 2 million. So that's really it, guys. There's not much else to it. The strategy is simple. The strategy works. The reason why it works is because you're always going to have a 70 to 80% chance of winning every single trade. If you're into sports betting, it's like having a minus 500 favorite, right? It's like having, it's like being able to put money on the person who's likely to win every single time and still getting paid, pretty decent, right? You're never going to have that trade that explodes and you make 50,000, but you make 500 a week, 1,000 a week, 2,000 a week. Your account compounds, and guess what? When your account is in the 6-figure range, 7-figure range, now you're consistently making more money than 99% of people at their jobs. So have the discipline, have the consistency, have the long-term vision, and you can definitely succeed with selling options. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you learned a lot. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content.